Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your friend Tickles. You are listening to the Movie Club, the TMC podcast, also known as. And today we're talking about Goonies. And to talk about that, there's no two better people on the planet to be joined by than our friends from Flynn Family Farms, the co-host of the TKOK podcast network, and co-host of Pod Moms podcast. We have Kate and Mike joining us all the way from the West Coast. We have Ellison back there too, I see.
I know. Yeah, we got all of our kids pillows of pictures of themselves, so they trade them and sometimes stick them in our bed. Cole was in our bed for a while.
Yeah. That is awesome. That is awesome. Kate, you're looking good. Did you do something different with your hair or?
No, but I'm wearing lip gloss.
Okay,
today.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what. Maybe the gloss threw me. I mentioned you two are two of the best people to join us for this movie. You guys share a deep love for the movie, so much so, you guys have gone and visited the location multiple times.
We actually, I think it was actually the only reason we moved to the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. Everything else was only a cover up to get closer.
Closer to the Goonies.
Closer to Goonies. That's right. You guys took the family, packed them up from Milwaukee, and moved them out to Seattle, so you guys could be a little bit closer to Astoria.
We're like, listen. One thing we know is we love Goonies, and then everything else will just figure itself out from here.
Really funny things happen to us in Astoria, though. So Astoria is like a really close place in our heart, and we like going there a lot.
So for the backstory for your audience, your Goonies audience, Astoria, Oregon, and Cannon Beach is where they shot a lot of
Ecola State Park.
A lot of scenes that you see like on the outdoor part of the Goonies, which is pretty cool. And it's like a 4-hour drive from.
It's like 3, yeah.
From Seattle.
And I mean, it looks like a beautiful area. The whole Pacific Northwest is pretty cool. We'll talk a little bit about some what ifs. This film was originally not visualized for the Pacific Northwest, and also I have a couple nits to pick in terms of the location of One-Eyed Willie and the story. I got a couple nits to pick later. Before we do, make sure you are subscribing to the TKOK podcast network YouTube channel. Get over to the Facebook group. There's some good stuff happening over there, and don't forget to hit the like button there on the YouTube. Kate, before we jump too far into Goonies, do you have anything to plug Pop Moms related? I know you guys are winding down, right?
Yeah, we're winding down I called it like the 2.5 season, because with COVID, I just didn't really know how consistent or anything it was going to be, and there was no theme. So we're looking forward to officially starting season 3 in the fall.
Awesome.
At Pop Moms Podcast, and variations of that, www.popmomspodcast.com. Check us out.
Yeah, putting out good stuff, and you normally episodes come out on Thursdays.
Usually on Thursdays, but sometimes it's a couple weeks in between.
That's right. That's the life of content creation when you have an entire other life going on.
Yep.
That's right. So we are talking about Goonies. The movie came out in 1985, a great year, especially if you're
before I was born.
You know when it came out, right?
I didn't know when it came out. No.
Yeah. Well, the Goonies is older than Kate here. Yeah. Great year for Chicago Bears fans. Directed by Richard Donner, Spielberg, famously one of the executive producers, and then Christopher Columbus was one of the writers on this. He had a pretty awesome run that I have in some of my best performances later on. 7.8 on IMDb and a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. But again, most importantly, #1 in the Flynn household, right? This is, when I came to Kate and Mike and said, hey, what movie should we end the season 1 of the TMC podcast on? It was a unanimous Goonies. So,
well, I think that because we'd actually just been in Astoria,
as
well,
that helps.
Astoria drink pretty hard.
Yeah,
it's a cool town.
It's a cool town. How big is it?
Small.
It's like a beach town. I mean, but also like a neighborhood of people who would live there. But they're not quite as strange as normal people who live in some of those seaside areas.
Have they ever knocked down the Goondocks and built a nice golf course there yet?
No.
No, the Goondocks still live. That's good to know.
We've actually been in front of the house a couple times.
Yeah, so we've been to the Goonies house.
I think 3 times.
So originally they wouldn't let you up there to take pictures, and the people who originally bought the house hated Goonies traffic. This is like folklore. This is like Goonies folklore. Like they hated Goonies traffic because obviously it draws a huge crowd.
But why would you buy that house?
Why would you buy the Goonies house if you didn't want a bunch of Goonies people coming?
Yeah.
Obviously, pay their worship. So, anyways, they like hung like a tarp over it, so people would not come into the house. And they had like big signs that said like "keep out." But eventually, somebody else bought it.
The house can't be that nice that why would you buy that house? Period. If you weren't a Goonies fan. Although I guess one of the houses we were looking at in Astoria, the driveway was the scene of Short Circuit. So I mean, like that town is just riddled with gems like that.
So you got Short Circuit, you got Goonies, you got Kindergarten Cop, all in the same town. I mean, dude, it's like exploding.
Was some of Point Break too?
So you got a little bit of Point Break going on.
Well, and check this out. I was the creator of Free Willy was worked on this film and was inspired by the scenic beauty and wrote the story of Free Willy, a boy and an orca whale, while filming Goonies. So there's another Astoria. So Astoria at least inspired Free Willy.
It's got a boner.
Yeah. Just put that in there. Well, Kate, you kind of touched on this. 1985, you weren't even born yet. Do you remember when you first saw Goonies, or were you pretty young, or was this something you caught later in life?
I remember seeing it as a kid. Like I don't know if it was like a sleepover. My parents weren't big movie buffs.
Right. But this is one it does feel like everyone saw as a kid, right? Like it has like the nostalgic feels to it.
It's got all the feels.
Yeah.
All the feels.
Spielberg checks all the boxes.
I actually it made me like Spielberg more to know that he did Goonies. Like he didn't kind of have street cred with me until I knew that he actually did the Goonies.
And Mike, this was pretty much like in your wheelhouse as a kid. Like this was on a pretty solid rotation.
Yeah, I like Goonies. I think it's an easy, especially like I think all throughout like growing up having Goonies on in the background was
pretty common. Yeah. Well, I asked that because I'm curious. You for me, I was the same way, Mike. This movie was on. I had older cousins. It was just constantly on. And I found it interesting watching it now. And I've thrown it on a bunch of times between being a kid and now. But I do find it interesting how I relate to, or I am like gravitate towards different characters. So I want to ask you guys, which Goonie?
Which one I thought you would be? I've actually thought about this as well a couple times.
Yeah. So which Goonie are you? And has that changed? Which Goonie, did you see yourself as, or did you identify with as a kid? And did, do you see yourself differently? Are you a different Goonie today? And you guys want to jump in there?
When I was a kid, I saw myself as Mikey the Goonie because I had asthma, so I felt safe with him.
Super relatable.
But now I feel like the mom.
Mrs. Walsh?
Mrs. Walsh?
Mrs. Walsh?
The mom.
Wow. Wait, hold on. Mrs. Walsh or Mama Fratelli?
No, not Mama Fratelli.
Okay.
No. Mikey's mom. I turned into his mom. And now in real life I am Mikey's mom.
True. That is,
you are full circle for me.
You are the mom of a Mikey. That I hadn't considered that. Mike, what about you?
I'd say as a kid, probably identified both with Mouth. So pretty annoying. Pretty loud.
You're such a mouse still.
Pretty loud, pretty annoying. I'd say I've kind of morphed into more of a Brant, more like a little bad driver. Like I would definitely have failed my driver's
You are totally a Brand. Working out.
Better biker, still a bad driver. So I would
always trying to impress the ladies.
Yeah. Always.
Sick workout routines.
Always. One of my favorite scenes to this day that I can still watch and I'll cry laughing at is the part where he takes a bike and he's trying to catch up to him, right? So he's riding that kid's bike, right? And then like Troy pulls up in his convertible, right? And he grabs his hand and his gun jet. He's basically dragging them along the car and he rips it off and then he fires off this cliff going like 40. And at that point, you're like,
and then he comes back.
No, then he disappears later. But at that point, He's dead. Some guy just murdered him, flying him off a cliff.
There's a couple scenes, there's another scene with Chunk and Sloth later on with the pipes, where Sloth raises the pipe and you just hear a car screech and a woman scream, and I'm kind of left to be like, wait, did they just cause an innocent
death?
Where's
that person? Because they're not like close to anyone. Like they were screaming and like no one could hear them. So like, how does sound travel? I don't know.
Oh God! I mean, there's a lot of questions.
Horrific accidents.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep teasing too much, but I do have a full section of, geared around how this movie kind of changed the way I looked at certain things as a kid. The pipes thing is probably another one I didn't include in the notes, but like, yeah, 1,000%. That scene, I just remember thinking like, God, can that be done? Can you really like smash people in the face just by pushing a pipe up underground? I myself.
Tommy has definitely spent a lot of time underground.
Me and the sewers.
Other various activities.
As it turns out, most of those pipes pretty hard to lift.
It's like, and really secure.
Not as easy as the Goonies made it look.
I also like that all the water mains of the city are run through this rundown restaurant. Like the hub. We'll do it right here.
Well, little
quick fact for the Goonies audience. That restaurant actually was built on the spot, on location at Astoria State Park, just for
the filming
those scenes. So that's not like a rundown restaurant. It was built that way just for the scenes in the park.
Also, I wonder if I could find the picture.
I'm not sure if you guys discovered this in your Goonies, quest for more knowledge, but the pirate ship was also real. They like the pirate ship that they built was actually built to scale. It was a real pirate ship that they built for the filming.
Was in California. Yeah. It wasn't even in Oregon.
And they offered it to a bunch of people, and nobody took it, so they just scrapped it. That was, really sad thing.
Wish I had some money back then.
I know.
Or just been involved. It didn't even sound like you needed money. They were just like, who wants it? And no one's like, I can't take a fucking giant pirate ship.
Where do you put it?
Yeah, exactly.
So you want to see some Goonies memorabilia, though? You go to the Oregon Film Museum.
Yeah.
In Astoria.
That picture. Good. No, you had a picture of one of my favorite pieces of memorabilia, the statue, the naked statue that they break at the beginning of the film.
We went into the jail cell.
Oh, I saw that. If you're listening and you happen to see the promotion on the TMC Insta story, was that the jail that you were walking into, Kate?
So the jail itself that they filmed the opening scene in is the Oregon Film Museum. So you can it's part of this little tour thing in Astoria. We can go in there and get tickets, and you basically can go in the film cell, the jail cell where they filmed it.
That is awesome. Next time I come visit, I'm gonna have to come visit. Dancing Sean said he would have just lived in the jail cell.
It'd be okay.
Yeah, no one was ushering you out. It didn't seem like there was any hurry to get in or out of it. You could have hung out there for quite a bit.
It was awesome.
You could just start playing as a Fratelli. I'm just an actor. I'm just part of the.
Yeah, it would have been. They welcome you with open arms with Goonies knowledge and story.
That's good to know. I myself, it's an interesting thing. I always saw myself as a Data, even though, Dancing Sean's correcting me. He would have just lived in the pirate ship. That's also a good call. That would have been a dope little tiny house. No, I always saw myself as Data, even though I was nothing like Data. I wasn't handy. I never had awesome inventions. But as I watched the movie, I think I was probably a combination of Mouth and Chunk, like a nice solid combination of Mouth and Chunk. And then watching it later in life, I'm 100% Mama Fratelli. I'm a hardcore Mama Fratelli. That's why I thought you were going to steal some of my shine.
You got the mom vibes for me.
Oh, I mean, I just feel like I'm short. Yeah, I just got the squat build, and if I put on one of her hats, I could have that. I'm just a couple years away from that voice. I got two boys. I've got Shep and Solo. They're gonna grow up to be the Fratelli boys.
That slapping.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I slap them all the time. I guess I'd have to have a third boy, because Sloth is also a Fratelli boy.
Kind of walk the same too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We both have the same waddle.
A saunter.
Yeah. Both have the same waddle. A lot of the same tattoos. So yeah. So I definitely saw it shifting more so as like I'm a mama Fratelli. So I'm with you, Kate, on those like kind of watching it later here on the mom vibe or the parenting vibe. 1,000%.
I have one-off questions for you too.
Yeah.
You're prepared for.
Mike planned it.
Do you think you like the band the Fratellis more because of the movie Goonies or because they were the Blackhawks score song for their championship run?
I think it was. I don't give that band a chance if it's not for Goonies, so I'm gonna give the nod to Goonies. And even though as fun as that Blackhawks run was, I was never the biggest hockey fan. I got into it a little bit just because they were so good and they were winning championships, but I always felt kind of like a poser. So I'm going to say more so because of Goonies. And what I also found out, Fratelli in Italian means brother or brothers.
So the brothers.
Yeah, brothers. Another one of our listeners and one of the mods over at the Facebook group, Scott, says he always liked Data. And Dancing Sean related to Mikey, but wanted to be Data. Yeah, Data had such sweet things. Like sweet inventions, and I always thought that there was a weird connection from Data to the dad from Gremlins, right? Because the dad from Gremlins has these inventions that never work out, right? They're kind of similar.
You think it's grown up Data?
Here's the thing, Christopher. No. So I thought I was maybe imagining things. The writer of Gremlins is the writer of Goonies.
That I knew.
Christopher Columbus. And not only that, but when Chunk calls the police station, the police officer is like, "Oh yeah, is this the time like you told us the story about those creatures who multiplied when you threw
that
up?"
I knew. That one I knew.
So, and that is 1,000% an acknowledged homage to Gremlins, because it's the same writer. So, I'm not so sure that it's not it's not a nod. But yeah, the band Fratelli is 1,000%. I think I like them more because of the Goonies. I have another just kind of one-off question that I don't know. This is something I definitely never considered until my most recent watch. But all of the Goonies, there's the scene where Chunk's in the freezer with the dead body, and they're all pretty alarmed and pretty scared. And then shortly after that, they discover Chester Copperpot's body, and they're like ripping the necklace off the body and like fondling the head of like the skeleton. And they're pretty comfortable with this dead body in like a matter of 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, but we still got that's two different body states.
Yep, totally.
We're talking fresh corpse gunshot wound versus
but very cold, and he was freaked out.
Versus like a 40, 50-year-old.
Okay.
Bones.
Because I was very taken aback by how comfortable they got with corpses, like as a bunch of little kids, really quickly. I felt like there was two big standout things. It was that, and then like that all the times that Andy and Bran chose to get horny are like the worst possible times. It's like they fall through like a cobwebbed basement, as they're being chased by murderous brothers, and then they decide to make out. And then, after they jump off the pirate ship, as Mama Fratelli's got, Andy's hands tied and they're like under a ship trying to evade capture. I'm just like,
You can't predict when love's gonna hit you.
Dude,
it's true.
Love, dude, he's getting it in when he can, dude. Quick hand job real quick. Yeah. The pirate ship's getting away, dude. He's in for it, dude. He's cashing in when he can, man.
Yeah, I was just
his little brother's been cock blocking him all day, taking the good minutes.
Here's a question: is the Jack Johnson song "Steal"? Wait, no, is that Jack Johnson or
Ben Harper?
Ben Harper, sorry. "Steal My Kisses." Is that about Goonies?
I think it always has been.
It always has been. Okay.
I've never associated with anything other than that.
Ben Harper is a huge Goonies fan.
Aren't all of his songs actually about the movie Goonies? Every song is just a metaphor for a Goonies situation.
I think they all kind of have some kind of Goonies tie-in. I'm pretty sure.
Speaking of bands, what is the one that we figured out with Casey and JoJo were in?
Oh, Jodeci.
Jodeci. Unrelated.
Jodeci.
I had to give Kate an R&B tour the other day. Unrelated.
For
I
sure.
didn't believe Casey and JoJo, but much like this movie being made before I was born. But before my time of integration into music, and Casey and JoJo, I did not know that they had a band before them.
Well, did you know Cisco was part of a band as well?
Maybe
Okay, Drew Hill. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you're aware of Drew Hill as well.
Yes,
Well, Casey and JoJo were two very strong performers. No one, I think everyone that's listening will agree with that. And I think that's a nice transition into our strongest performances of this movie. So, Kate and Mike, who were your strongest performances? When you go back and watch this, who stands out for you?
Sloth.
Do you know that I was told one time by a girlfriend's little sibling that her family sat around and talked about how they thought I looked like Sloth?
I could see that.
Yeah, for sure.
That story behind the actor that played Sloth, though, he was a
football player.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of his name, but then after his notoriety for his role, he got big into like the Hollywood party scene, and I believe ended up ODing or
I do know
something. It's actually a really sad story.
I do know
about what happened with the actor that played Sloth.
I do know that he's no longer on the planet, and I do know that also it took 5 hours to get into that makeup. From what I read, that's pretty crazy. It does remind me that if you are a huge fan of this movie, in December of 2020, all of the living participants of the film did a read through of the script. So that's available out there on YouTube. So it was one of the few silver linings that came out of COVID. So go check that out. But yeah, Sloth 1,000%. Not only is my celebrity doppelganger, but a strong point in this film. He's kind of the heart and soul of it. I think is a good way to put it. Not to mention just one of the main, one of the heroes, and potentially an accidental murderer when he lifts those pipes. Maybe, who knows?
Right.
What about you, Mike?
I think who's my Jodeci performer from?
Strongest performer brought to you by Jodeci.
I mean, the cast itself is just filled with A-listers across the board. I think when you think of a cast like this, other things come to mind are like, the big names, like the Outsiders. Maybe as a cast is strong, but I would say strongest performance. It's going to come down to Mikey or Mouth. I mean, from there, both of their careers, were pretty steady for roles from there forward. I think that, and also, what's his name? Who's the actor that played Brant?
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin, also
for sure.
Pretty big springboard for him as well.
Yeah. One of the only two people in the entire cast nominated for an Academy Award, not for this film, obviously, but he should have been. I think we all agree that probably there's a lot.
Actually, won Best Actor, but
there's probably a lot of Oscar snubs.
Just finding out right now.
Tragic.
A lot of Oscar snubs. I think it's hard to. I mean, Mouth for me was one of the stronger performances. I remember just as a kid, Corey Feldman kind of jumping. In one of those like almost moments, Corey Haim actually auditioned for the role of Mouth, and that was the first time Feldman and Haim had ever met. They go on like a couple years later to do Lost Boys, and then License to Drive, and a few others, and obviously they become really close friends. And that story is also really, really sad. Speaking of Hollywood stories, we got a couple, Dancing Sean and Scott here. They're saying Data. He ended up in Indiana Jones. Temple of Doom. That was one of my favorites. I was gonna say that actor had a great run for a couple years. Dancing Sean says Chunk. He told them everything.
That's so funny.
No,
when we get into like favorite scenes.
It's Saul Goldman or Goodman. Oh yeah, Better Call Saul. Oh yeah. No, and I have Chunk as my it's probably my strongest performance. I just think especially in this rewatch, I think he always was someone that the truffle shuffle is something that comes to mind immediately from one of my early on kids. As a chunky kid, I just remember thinking like, I can own this. Okay, he owns this. It was always a cheap laugh that you could get.
Like body positive before it was cool to be body positive.
Totally.
Other kids were body shaming people.
Yeah,
that's right. And I'm wearing my Hawaiian shirt in honor of Chunk tonight. I think, yeah, no, and and as Mike said, we'll get to this when we get to favorite scenes, but his whole like run from the time when he gets caught by the Fratellis on the side of the road till basically when him and Sloth, basically the end of the movie is so great. I just think that especially the blender scene, and it's just like, I think that might be spoiler alert, that might be my
put in there again.
Well, first they drop a tomato in, and they were threatening.
Where are they getting tomatoes?
They were in the restaurant.
Yeah,
but the restaurant hadn't been open for a really long time. There's fresh tomatoes out of anything. Like all these leftovers.
Well, they were demonstrating that it was going to be the hand.
Yeah. Well, they were driving. They're out driving around looking for Chunk. Maybe they picked up some produce. Yeah, it's the Pacific Northwest. It's crunchy. It's crunchy out there.
A lot of farm stands.
Yeah.
For sure. No, I thought Chunk is great. He befriends Sloth. That and in doing my research, it turns out that Chunk he was one of the few actors that was kind of allowed to improvise. Where he and a lot of what you hear in there, are not a lot, but there are some of the more iconic movie points for me that were I found to be improvised.
It's possible to grow out of looking like Chunk. Like I don't know what that actor looks like, but
he doesn't look like Chunk anymore.
That's right. No, he doesn't.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah. No, he looks pretty good comparatively compared to the rest of the cast.
Another little tidbit of info for your listeners so the actor himself actually had chickenpox for the filming of the movie. It was basically
Sloth, right?
Be a great movie. It was just like, I'll just tough it out and do it.
The kid? That's amazing. I want that lawyer.
Yeah.
That's a commitment. Oh my God.
Yeah.
As a kid.
Well, and if you think about it, this was pointed out to me by one of our listeners. Basically everything that happens is because of Chunk. He breaks the case that allows him to find that. He drops the water that allows him. I mean, granted, some of those things are like Mikey setting him up, right? Like, here, hold this, 1, 2, 3, and he waits. He knows it's going to happen. But I can make I think a very strong argument that Chunk is the true hero of this movie.
He's the guy behind the adventure, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, for sure. My other strongest performance, I like to try to go a little bit outside the box for this. For these, Chris Columbus. So he, as I mentioned, he's a writer. Listen to this run that Chris Columbus has. He's a writer for Gremlins in '84, writer for Goonies in '85, Adventures in Babysitting '87, and then directs Home Alone in '90. So it's like a pretty hot run from '84 to '90.
That's a solid run.
And he was a director for some of those and a writer for some of those, but man, that was pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to deny him. We've been kind of touching on this, so I think let's just go ahead and weigh in on it. But as we've kind of like just kind of summarized, there are a lot of strong performances, a pretty strong cast. Which Goonie do you think went on to have the strongest career?
I don't know.
I mean, it's got to be
Josh Brolin.
It's got to be Brolin or Sean Astin.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty easy. Or I mean, if you're,
what else was he in? He was in
Rudy,
the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He was in Stranger Things.
Right.
I'm just trying to think. Recently, he was also in.
I mean, the Luke Skywalker guy,
Brolin,
right?
Arguably best looking Goonie.
Oh,
is that why you identify as him?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Sean Astin.
No, I mean, I think I think I tend to lean Sean Astin.
I was looking for an autographed picture of him, like within the last 5 years. I feel like
I think you're thinking of the guy from Airborne.
Oh yeah.
Mitchell Goosen.
I think you're thinking of Sean McDermott. I think you're thinking
Sean
of
McDermott. Another Sean. Yeah, another good Sean.
Maybe if they happen to have his autograph. Send it in here to the old movie club.
That's right. We are accepting Sean McDermott autographs in lieu of Patreon support or any sort of PayPal donation.
Just send in a Sean McDermott.
Yeah. That's way better than anything else. If anyone sends in a Sean McDermott autograph picture, we'll just shut down the podcast and we'll consider it like, we're accomplished. Mission accomplished. The chat says Brolin. I think Brolin's easy because of No Country for Old Men and
cool.
That's right. Well, he did a lot. He's been in a lot recently, right? He was also, I feel like, in some of the Marvel stuff, right?
Yeah.
Was he in a movie about a piano?
But I feel like he's had a really strong run, like starting with No Country for Old Men, and then just from then on, he's been in a bunch of really good stuff, and he's like a lot of stuff too. But I mean, I do like, just from my personal taste, like the stuff that I like. I love Rudy. I love the Lord of the Rings movies, and I really love Stranger Things. So for me, like the movies, the stuff that Sean Astin is doing now is closer. He was also in Encino Man, by the way, which is also a fucking really sick film. So, he plays Standout.
If you want overall like longevity, I think Brolin's got him beat there. But I think same as Corey Feldman. He had some good movies that came after that as well.
Oh my God, yeah. No, I mean, it's 100%. Like, it is weird to make this argument and not talk about Corey Feldman a little bit. And I think we have to, because if we had this podcast in like 93 or something like that, then it's probably an easy slam dunk Feldman, right? But yeah, it's it is an interesting kind of conversation, and I think it ultimately comes down to taste, right? And actually Dancing Sean says he's been more consistent over time, Sean Astin. I agree. I think that's probably the best way to put it. And then Brolin just has been like on fire of late. He's had a really strong finish. We're gonna get to this. This was the thing that I think for me, as on my early watches from Goonies, outside of like being devastated that I wasn't a great child inventor like Data, my other takeaway was the wishing well scene. And so I don't think I would put it in my favorite scenes, but it's definitely one of the most impactful, because after that, I could never throw a coin into a wishing well without imagining a bunch of like fucking ragtag kids underneath there stealing my coin. And then Corey Feldman introduces this idea that if you take a coin, or maybe it was even Steph, you can't take the coin because then it's the wish.
Oh, it was Annie.
Was it Annie?
Yeah, it was her, because she was really sweet about it.
Yeah.
You can't take a wish.
Yeah. And so then I was like, wait, hold on. I'm throwing, like, I would never trust throwing a coin in there, because I would always imagine a bunch of Goonies underneath there taking my coins and stealing my wishes.
Yeah, I took wishes and wishing ponds and wishing wells like way more seriously before. Like, I mean, not before. It didn't impact it. Like, I was already fully sold on like wishing wells. We would do that. Mini golf courses, malls, the fountains at the mall. Let's see, like any sort of public fountain.
No, well,
I'm not kidding. I sought it out. I loved it. And like right now, like, how much does Ellison love blowing her eyelashes as a wish? So if one of our kids has an eyelash on their face, we take it, we say make a wish. And our daughter, who's going to be kindergarten so soon, she wished that the school mascot, Ellison, right? The Mighty Eagle would come to her school, which is the mascot. And she's like so pissed. She comes back. She's like, Mom, I wished on my eyelash and the Mighty Eagle didn't come. And I was like, well, were you specific about the day? Maybe the universe just took it and you'll eventually get it. Oh, it's so bad.
I don't buy into it.
I love it. I love wishing wells.
I didn't even know where was there a wishing well. I don't even know where the wishing wells even existed until the Goonies.
I liked that Annie got her little moment of redemption, because she's pretty much like a total she's a horrible character except for that one part.
Well, I mean, to answer your question, Mike, where are wishing wells? Your wife kind of listed.
Anything's a wishing well if you got it right.
Right.
And,
toilet bowl.
Mr. Golf.
But my problem was I would see wishing wells in those places, Kate, and I would envision kids. I was like, there's kids underneath here. There's probably kids underneath here right now.
That little drain. It, like,
kids. On their way to finding a treasure that I'm not going to get. So yeah, no. So the movie didn't really tarnish. So it didn't enhance or tarnish wishing wells for you at all, Kate?
No, not at all.
Not at all. And then Mike, they just were not.
Yeah, that'd be super awesome.
Pretty indifferent bure.
Pretty
intrigued.
Mike
intrigued after.
Right now that there's well in
it. Intrigued after watching Goonies, but still indifferent.
Mike's fairly convinced there were no wishing wells within a 100-mile radius of Woodstock, Illinois.
No,
there were none. If you guys could take home,
that fell down into a well. They cemented all of them over.
Baby Jessica.
So we've mentioned the pirate ship as something that was offered and no one took, and we talked about the statue, which is in the museum that you guys visited. If you could take one piece of movie, just memorabilia away from this film and own it for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Easy, the house.
The house.
Yeah, the house would be pretty awesome.
That's pretty practical.
I think actual.
You have to pick something smaller. I think you would want Brant's exercise.
For sure.
For one thing,
or his outfit.
Yeah. Brant's shorts. The sweatpants 80 short combo.
That's pretty good. I think I'd want the statue, but I want it with the penis glued upside down.
They had both kinds at the
They have the upside down. Oh, I want to get my hands on that penis.
They also have Data's full out, like his jumpsuit, like the coat, the gears, and stuff. You can't buy it, but like they have it behind
that's pretty sick.
His whole getup.
So you can buy the statue with the upside down penis?
Yeah, you can
what?
It's a replica, but
well, yeah.
I can actually probably make you one.
Well, I'm thinking of doing a switcheroo where I get the actual one and put a replica back in place in like some like very Despicable Me type mission. We'll see about that.
Pretty laid back at the Oregon Film Museum. You probably wouldn't have to do too much work.
That's right. Let's hit our favorite scenes because let's just get this gorilla out of the room. Kate, you want to start with your favorite scenes?
I just like the scenes of the kids being like kids, like when they're just like running all together. Like, don't you remember as a kid, like when you got with all your friends, you're all just like running as fast as you can to get like wherever you were going, like as fast as possible. Like when they were running like over to the restaurant, or just like, I don't know. I like that. I like how when they were in the cave.
Yeah. Mike, what about you?
So I suppose one of my favorite scenes earlier where he grabs onto his car hand and he fires Brent off the ledge. But I think over one that I still die at every time is when Chunk escapes originally. Like he has a chance to get free and he's waving down traffic and he misses the first car. And the other one goes over. He's like, Mister. He's like, man, he's had this run with these really disgusting people. Then he starts singing and like he's like, he starts mouthing when he tries to get away, and then they grab him, and then they toss him back in the trunk right next to the dead guy. Still that whole scene, like I've seen probably 80,000 times, and I'll still die watching that one. So it has to be up there and with one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, and that's why Chunk's one of the strongest performances. And I love Kate that Kate's like, I just like seeing the kids be kids.
Reminds me of from when I was a kid.
Yeah, but I think that's what makes this movie so good. It's like, why do people still like watching that movie? It's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Is it like the nostalgia, whatever?
1,000%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, which I think is an interesting tie into our last week, or I always say last week, but just our last episode, which was Dazed and Confused, which I think these two films, in large part, the appeal comes from nostalgia, and
relatability.
For sure. And, and I think in it, maybe its initial draw was just that it was a feel-good movie, about a bunch of kids, on an adventure. It hits a bunch of like Mike said.
Gold. Oh my God, Hook. Pirates of the Caribbean, like you saw some pirates in there.
Oh my God, yeah, and there's a treasure map.
Waterworld or Underworld, Waterworld.
Yeah, I mean, another Dancing Sean had mentioned between this and Romancing the Stone and D&D, like
treasure maps. Hell yeah, everything was a treasure map.
Treasure maps could have been probably in the strongest performances. This is the strongest performance for treasure maps and booby traps.
Keeping track of things. I mean, like that's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean,
this water bottle. They keep like all these ancient artifacts safe and.
Oh my! I think that was a major oversight on our part by not putting treasure maps in the strongest performances and booby traps. Huge, strongest performance for booby traps.
Our kids love it.
So we let them watch Goonies, and they're just like now they're like
Home Alone too.
Yes, booby traps, dude.
Oh my God, yeah,
big booby trap.
Yeah,
almost just a big booby trap guy.
Yeah, nothing like spoon feeding kids a bunch of lethal booby traps, right? And just being in
every time we have to be like, you guys know this will absolutely kill you. Like you can't. You can't.
Oh my God, yeah. You cannot take a paint can to your brother's face.
That one we had to talk about a lot.
Yeah, we cannot do a spiked pit of death, and don't worry, that belt with the teeth chompers aren't going to save you. But yeah, no. I think my favorite scenes. I really enjoy the opening, or I guess it's not the opening scene, but just the scene where they're. It's kind of I guess we'll put it all into one where the mom's coming through the house with the housekeeper. Mouth is giving her the directions, and then that leads to her leaving out, and then they go up to the attic and they discover the map and the article about Chester Copperpot. I think that is just great. I love. I think probably my favorite part is, as Mike said, I would continue that scene with Chunk to the blender scene, and I know it kind of cuts back and forth from Chunk to the Goonies as they're going through the caves, but his little bit about the fat camp, he's like, and then I just went nuts and they sent me home. I just love it. And a cool little tidbit, so the scene where he talks about he's like, and the worst thing I ever did was he may mix up a bunch of fake puke and then he spills it all over the audience. Yeah, supposedly Steven Spielberg actually did that as a kid. That was like a prank that he pulled as a kid.
Great prank.
Yeah, great prank. And okay, so we have a couple, or at least one comment here that I think is I did want to touch on. It's called "You Got to Wonder What Chris Columbus Was Getting Into as a Kid." Well, that was one of the what ifs I mentioned at the top of the film, or at the top of this episode that I kind of wanted to discuss. So this movie was almost set in Ohio because Christopher Columbus grew up in Ohio, and he came up with the idea of Goonies because he would go into abandoned mine shafts and just kind of explore, and he thought of like treasures. And when he originally came up with this idea, it was set there, and they eventually changed it to be in the Pacific Northwest. Now, my big beef with that is the whole like story about One-Eyed Willie and the British. If you consider the Panama Canal wasn't really it wasn't built at all at the time of 1632. That means they would have had to chase him all the way around the tip of South America and then back up, which would mean, I guess that means they were pretty.
What to do when you were a pirate? It was kind of a day-to-day thing.
Well, I'm not saying like, I think it would be a very logical, if not, but dangerous route for a pirate to choose. It would be very, for the British to follow him that far, it would, it would be a big commitment. But I guess it also shows how bad they wanted that treasure back.
Yeah.
Or just how badass One-Eyed Willie was. Also, One-Eyed Willie's skull, an actual skull. That was an actual skull. So
I like when he got like emotional over it. It was really cute.
See, that was one of the parts where I was thinking they're like, he's getting really, really comfortable. And I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of, one of the friends, and you walk in and your buddy's like, I'd be like, yo, I think Mikey's losing his fucking mind. He's in here talking to these dead things. Maybe this whole thing has been a little,
Peter was like a distraction while his like parents' house was getting foreclosed upon, and they went on this grand adventure and then saved it. Hello,
Totally.
Maybe just a scotch of emotion.
No. I mean, I would be considering all those things as major trauma events and being like, I think they broke Mikey, and he's in there talking to all these dead people. He thinks One-Eyed Willie's fucking for real. No, 1,000%. I love the scene. I mean, any scene with Chunk and Sloth together. I think those are great. I'm trying to see what else did I have for best scenes.
I wish there would have been a spinoff with like Chunk and like Sloth living together.
Oh, 1,000%.
Live with, you know what I mean?
1,000%. Oh, this was another thing. I didn't know where to put this. I put it in favorite scenes just because I was so confused by it. And I've never caught this before ever. And I want to ask you guys if you guys have ever seen this. So at the very end, they're when they're rescued and there's a reporter and they're like explaining their whole experience that they've just gone through. They're talking about fighting an octopus, right? And I was like, what the fuck? And I just like I was like, that was
scene that got removed.
Yeah. Okay. So have you guys ever seen that scene? Because apparently it ran on basic cable.
No.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. No, I have not either.
I've never seen the octopus outtake, but I have heard that before that they cut out a whole scene.
Yeah.
With an octopus.
Okay. Yeah. That was something I didn't know. So yeah, if you catch that, there was the octopus scene. I was never aware of that, and I went back to be like, was that like a reference to something or didn't? No. So yeah, there was a scene. I'd love and again, like I read that it was it is on YouTube. So apparently, yeah, I read that it was aired on the basic cable versions, which is super weird. But yeah, and so I think those are my favorite scenes. And then just I don't know, I just like the interaction between the Fratelli brothers. Joe Pantaleone is probably he was very close to being on my strongest performances.
Do you know that the one is he was actually a professional opera singer?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, so is that why he keeps singing? Mm-hmm. It would make sense. I wanted to end with this. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the phonetics of it, but Chester Copperpot was always one of my favorite fictional names. I just find the name very pleasing to the ears.
Say it even.
Yeah.
Copperpot.
Chester Copperpot. I don't know. There's something maybe also about the syllable arrangement that is very pleasing. What are some of your guys' other favorite fictional names? And it could be from books, movies, TV shows. I'll give you guys a second to think.
I'm gonna say Zed.
Oh, Zed. Yeah, we're gonna have people. If you guys want to, if you want to stick around, we're gonna tell a personal story that has nothing to do with Goonies. It's pretty funny story that does involve the name Zed. But yeah, Zed. Anything else? So then I'll let you guys think. Some of the names that I came up with was Booger from Revenge of the Nerds. I thought great fictional name. Cool Ethan from Slackers, not Slacker. And then from the Song of Ice and Fire series, The Laughing Storm. I've always liked that, along with Chester Copperpot.
What was the guy's name? What was the friend's name in Teen Wolf?
Styles.
Styles.
Yeah, Styles. That is also a fantastic addition to the list.
I'm really bad with names.
It's all right. Yeah. No. I just really enjoyed that. And that's probably going to be it for the Goonies talk. I did want to tell the story of Suds' surprise birthday really fast. What? Yeah, no. So for those that you guys know, me and Mike are friends from grade school. Mike came and visited me the other week, and it was for our friend Suds' 40th birthday party. But Suds did not know Mike was coming in to visit, and we had surprised him by explaining that we wanted to have a nice dinner at my house with him and my wife, and we had our gardener who was finishing up some yard work, so we were going to go out in the back and have some drinks as soon as he was finished. Our gardener was played by Mike, and he played the role of Zed quite well, the retired hippie landscaper who liked to do everything in the barefoot. And it was one of the funniest things I've seen in a really long time.
Unfortunately, we lost the footage of...
Yeah, we have some footage. We have some we have some footage. I don't have it prepared to play. But yeah, no, the footage was fantastic. Suds was surprised, and I thought it was a pretty amazing prank. And I just want to give Mike some credit for his role and his acting chops. This is a movie podcast.
This basically is launching my. So my plug is, I'm starting a for hire prank gardener. It's very niche.
You want your friends to think that you have a gardener.
Impress your friends.
Did you have a weird gardener?
Gardener.
You guys want to laugh at a gardener for 20-30 minutes.
It was pretty amazing. Suds was thoroughly confused. Your gardening practices were unorthodox, yet I thought very effective.
Wait, I want to give you both a shout out because you guys also prepared a really amazing song.
Oh yeah.
And I was privy to be able to hear it, and it was so awesome. And you guys did such a good job. So I want to give you guys kudos for how
that's awesome.
That sounded.
Yeah. Lita was not as enthusiastic about it, but your kudos went a long way in restoring a little bit of.
Lita cut my guitar strings and that night, so
she hit my guitar, so I couldn't take it. But yeah, no, it was I was really impressed with Mike's acting skills, so I did want to just give him a shout out, and I thought
he commits to his roles. You're like Christian Slater.
That's
why I like Christian Slater so much because he reminds me of you.
Oh yeah, he was more like I took Mike more as a Daniel Day-Lewis because he spent like the whole day out there getting in character, actually doing my yard, watering. He was Flynn family farming it out back there. He was really dedicated to the role, so maybe not so surprising that it went so well. Anything? So I know again. Let's plug Pop Mom's podcast. You guys are wrapping up. You can find it pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. You guys are on YouTube now as well. So go subscribe over there to the Pop Moms podcast YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you want your friends to think you have a gardener, you can reach us. Send an email to the TKOK podcast network at gmail.com.
Request in with an autographed Sean McDermott picture. We could probably make
one
it happen.
Autographed
one fee. My fee is one Sean McDermott autograph per service.
That's right. Don't forget to subscribe. We're going to be, this is the end of season 1. We'll be back. I'm not sure when, but relatively soon.
To anything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, New Dad's going to be kicking back up. We're going to take at least a couple weeks off. I'll be in Asheville enjoying a concert this weekend, and then probably come back and start kind of getting the schedule more cemented in, and then hopefully I'll get my Facebook account back. It sounds like that's going to happen soon. I'm getting some movement there, but in the meantime, do go to the Facebook group and join over there. That's the TKOK Podcast Network Facebook group. And it's been a lot of fun. I can't wait to kind of put some thoughts into how we might tweak or change the TMC podcast for season 2, and I'm excited for New Dad to start back up. You guys have a great night. Thank you, Mike and Kate. It's always a pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And we'll be seeing you soon. Take care.